sister, brother, no matter which religion is you, could a Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Hindu. Sister is a sister, real and true. One big pot of culture brew, and allow we together. Could really make this dream come. The place of love. We are one Guyana. It's paradise, our world. My love runs deep like a beautiful rivers for Guyana. Oh, And when we stand as one, mighty like Mount Jemima. For Guyana, for Guyana, our life would be beautiful, just like Guyana. She's blessed us with her own, just got to embrace her. They say, one and alone can't clap, so let's put our hands together. Give her a standing ovation, this great nation, a little gem of this world, yeah. A piece of place.
And a very good evening to you. Welcome to the Diaspora Connected. We are certainly delighted that you are joining us here. We are live on Sky TV New York. We are live on Caribbean Showtime over there in Canada. And of course, we're live in Guyana on Daybreak News and the Guyanese Critic Facebook page. So to all our viewers, listeners, want to say welcome to you guys and thank you very much for joining us. And of course, you know, we always encourage you to share our video on your timeline, send it in a message to your friends. We're asking you also to partner with us, but we want you to partner with us by sharing our video. We're not going to ask you for anything else. So if you would be so kind to share our video. This evening in our studios, live from Queens, New York, we have Mr. Neaz Subhan, and he is no stranger to the camera. I'm a bit intimidated because Neaz was my boss at one time. It's hard to sit down and do an interview with your boss, but nevertheless, I'll do my best. Welcome, Neaz. Welcome to United States, and of course, welcome to our studios. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you very much, Ossie, and I can assure you, you must not feel intimidated. I sometimes feel intimidated when I'm on the other side of the camera.
So welcome, Neaz, and you know, the reason I took this opportunity to invite you on this program and to have you spend this 1 hour with us, lots of things are going on in Guyana. And ladies and gentlemen, I know, you know what, Neaz, since this is your first time in our studio, you're no stranger, but for that one person who may not know who is Neaz Subhan, please tell us who you are and where you serve and stuff like that.
I may take up more than your own. I'm currently serving as the CEO of NCN, Guyana's state television and radio network, having 3 major television stations and 11 radio stations and a number of relay stations as well. So I'm privileged to be asked to head that establishment at this point in time. Prior to 2015, I would have served as the director of GINA, the Government Information Agency, which has since been renamed to the Department of Public Information, the DPI. So I had a distinct honor and pleasure of serving in that capacity, and I'm serving as the head of the State Television and Broadcasting Corporation.
But give us a little background on you. I know but my very first time that I appear at the National Culture Center on such a high profile, you're the one who invited me to be on that that show. What I think it was Brown Sugar.
Yeah.
Brown Sugar. So I know you're involved in that, and you're involved in so many other things.
I wear different hats.
Yes.
I'm also a cultural activist, Indian cultural activist. I would have done a number of Indian plays. Those Guyanese here would have, if they can recall, Tulsidas and Didar and Dobhai and Vishwas and Bhagwan and Dosti. I would have done all those on stage. I would have been involved in a couple of films, local films in Guyana, and a long career, over 40 years in theater, as an actor, as a director, as a producer, as a writer. I won Best Playwright in 2013 for a play I wrote on domestic violence. When it's entitled "When Chocolate Melts." So I do a lot of stuff in theater, and I think both my theater life. And
Sorry,
my
Neaz,
media life.
not to interrupt you, but we're getting reports that our volume might be a little bit low. So if we can get some more volume, or if we can get Mr.
So
Mr.
I need to
Subhan
speak louder.
to
then,
speak
right?
up.
Okay.
Yes.
I need to speak louder.
As though you're on the stage of the
Okay,
National
right.
Culture
I need to
Center.
project this.
Yes. So so sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
it's okay.
Yeah, you were saying that you're involved in all these you were involved in plays and continue on, and we'll continue from
Well,
there.
it's so much. I mean, I would have done both Indian theater and English theater. I would have produced a number. I actually did this play which I directed, Barbie Surprising, in 2012. I had a real wonderful time doing that for that anniversary. So if I were to sit here and talk so many things, I also wrote a book on depression and suicidal tendencies and all of that.
Very
So-
important at this time. And I know that I don't know if you would want us to talk about this a little bit, but during the elections time, we're going to talk about the elections because it's important for people to remember. We don't ever want our people to forget the struggles that our country went through for us to get to this point. But you've had your personal struggles also during the elections time, and maybe that story might be able to inspire somebody else watching us. So quickly, if you can tell us what transpired.
I was involved integrally in the 2020 election. I was an observer for the Ethnic Relations Commission. I served as a commissioner on the ERC from 2018 to 2021, and the ERC got observer status for that election. So I would have been there throughout the process, the period before election day and the period after election day. And Ossie, like everyone else here in the diaspora, in Guyana, and various parts of the world, we saw things that we never thought we would have seen. I lived through a period, I came through a period, the late 70s, the 80s, and I would have seen so many things. I would have seen my father in the 1985 election, when I voted for the first time, and we went to vote together. And when we got there, he was told that he'd already voted, right? And knowing my father, he was angry. He never voted at that point in time, and tensions flared a little bit. And it was a lawyer who came and told him, it's best that you go home. Don't try to, inflame the situation anymore because there could have been consequences.
Right.
And when I talk about consequences, people who understand our history will know exactly what I'm talking about. So in 2020, a modern Guyana, transforming Guyana, you never thought you'd have been seeing certain things occurring during that election period. And I was appalled. I was like everyone else, you were angry and you were in so much disbelief. I don't think I need to rehash all of that because people know the story, but I recall the moment when I was in there when the verification for the SOPs for Region 4 was going on. And then at some point, the then chief elections officer turned up and said, hey, we're not going to compare statements of poll with statements of poll. He came with a spreadsheet and he said he and his staff would have already tallied those statements of poll. So basically he has the final number and we'll just compare the numbers now to the SOPs, which was against the law.
Right.
Everyone objected.
Well, not everyone, except
those
except his
persons
agents,
except
those
his
who you were
agents.
working for.
Those who wanted free and fair elections and were fighting for it
Right.
objected to it. The observers, everyone who were on that, who wanted to see transparent elections. And you sat there and you saw this guy impose his will, so to speak, on people, and then say, look, let's try it, and if things go wrong, if the numbers doesn't compare, then we'll come back. Now, obviously, the number didn't compare. They didn't correspond to what was going on. To find him afterwards to come back
Right.
and get it changed was a different issue. So you had incidents like that. Then you had the famous incident when the returning officer for Region 4 turned up and said, hey, there will be no more verification of the SOPs. I will now make a declaration. How are you making a declaration without verifying
Right.
the SOPs? 50% of those statements of poll were unverified, but yet a declaration was made. And I after the government, the PPP won, well, which we know the PPP had won.
Right.
But after they came to office, and for the first year anniversary, I made a documentary entitled Raid on Democracy. It's on YouTube, Raid on Democracy. And what I did, Ossie, I took footage that people would have put up from their cell phones, various people.
Right.
And I tried to tell that story using those footage, using what was happening, and show, to be able to put it within a 55-minute time frame to encapsulate what transpired over those 5 months. And while I don't want to lament on the documentary because I made it. I think if people have the opportunity to access that on YouTube, it will be a good reminder of what transpired during that period.
Right. So, and I understand. I am gonna encourage our viewers and our listeners to go on YouTube, find that documentary. Democracy is in my head. Find that documentary, and ensure that you take a look at that documentary and make it a reminder of where we came from. And Neaz, this is certain segments of our population, or a very small segment of our population and opposition leaders who want us to think like this is something that is far gone, it's long ago, we shouldn't be talking about it anymore. But it's very important for our listeners, our viewers, and Guyanese around the world to remember that it was just almost 3 years ago.
Not even 3 years, just over 2 years ago.
Just over 2 years ago that there was an attempt to steal Guyana's democracy. And that is very, sometimes we use these words and they float around so easily and people think, oh yeah, they were attempting to steal democracy, big deal. But it is a big deal because of the amount of things that Guyana, the amount of steps that Guyana would have moved backwards, the amount of things that would have been lost, and everything. So all those people who came together to rescue our democracy should be seen as heroes. And you were one who were there, and even afterwards, you document that story and ensure that it remain with us forever. And it will always form part of our history. And our children, your children's children, will always remember the threat to Guyana's democracy. I want to also ask you, in 2015, the PPP lost an election. Actually, I can say it. The period up to 2015, Guyana was an emerging economy. It was emerging. Things were being built. Things were being fixed up. We had a healthcare system prior to the PPP winning elections in 1992, a healthcare system that was dilapidated. All those things were repaired. New hospitals were being built. New schools were being built. Your place of employment, NCN, new technologies were introduced. Every sector of the Guyanese economy was doing better. And then we hit 2015. PNC came to power, and you, as a Guyanese, you were living in Guyana. I would like you to tell me about what you observed during that period between 2015 and 2020 in Guyana.
There's so many things I can talk about, but I'll tell you first of all from a personal standpoint. Because when the government changed in 2015, the new government touted inclusivity and that they will work to ensure that all Guyanese are involved. That turned out to be false because we saw persons that were fired. We saw what happened to the Amerindian community. In my own case, I was forced to resign. I was threatened that if I don't resign, I will be vilified in public. I have a family. They were much younger then, 7 years ago. They were much younger then. I had a baby at that time, he was just a few months old. And when you get that kind of a threat, while you want to stand up and fight and resist and everything else, sometimes the bottom line is what you have to take into consideration. What will happen to my family and yourself, So I'm saying it publicly now. I was intimidated. I was threatened. I was forced to resign. And I resigned. My resignation letter was actually lauded by the then Prime Minister as being very professional. I don't know if he was aware of what transpired, or I don't know. I don't want to make any accusation. But the person who was in charge of the media at that time was the person who forced me to resign. And we saw what happened to many public servants, many professionals who lost their job during that period. So when you lose your job, and then what happened? Within that 5-year period, you saw the economy started to contract. Confidence dissipated. People lost confidence, not only Guyanese, but investors. Unemployment stepped in. Businesses started to close, right? So basically, your income was insufficient because things started to go up, right? And so on. So it was a very, very difficult period, not only for me, but for many people that I know. Some of my past staff, who were in contact with me, they were telling me their stories, what they were going through. Look, as I wrote in my book, it's there in black and white. There were days I couldn't afford to put gasoline in my vehicle.
Wow.
Right? There were days because what mattered most was ensuring that, your family had a meal to eat. It may sound like we are trying to, we're exaggerating things, but I'm not. Right? For people who know me will know that I am not. And I documented that chapter in my book when, as I spoke about depression and everything else. So it was a very difficult period. And the statistics are there to show how many jobs were lost. Look at the sugar workers, right? The Amerindian, the community workers, and so many other businesses closed. A lot of businesses closed during that period. So it was a very difficult period, and what I'm trying to say is that what was touted during the campaign was not what transpired, unfortunately, during that 5-year period. And from 2020 August, and before I go to that, to the post 2020 August, I have 2 fairly young daughters in their 20s, right? And over time, as a family, you have conversations, and we'll discuss the past at times, our history, election history, and everything else. And it was very difficult to first of all get them to understand that there was a life once without cell phones, without internet, without computers, without landlines, scarce electricity. You had to fetch water. It was very difficult for them to understand life without a microwave, without a refrigerator, without a television. So it was, they couldn't bring their mindset to know that what they have didn't exist during our period. So when you talk about politics in a sense and rigged elections and so on, for me, not only them, but many young people, they listen to you, but it was hard for them to connect. Right? To connect. Well, what happened in 2020 during that 5-year period vindicated all of us who were trying to tell those stories. We need no conviction after that.
Because you see, they and I heard the cry even here in the United States. Young people, 20, 22, 18, 19 years old, we need a change. We've lived only on the PPP, and you heard all these stories about PPP. You did not know what the other side is, even though the history of the PNC and its bullyism, his intimidation, his race baiting. And these are my words. These are not the words of my guests. I want to make sure that you guys understand. We heard these things about the PNC, young people, but they did not believe that, or some of them did not know that these things can actually happen in a modern Guyana. And we arrived at 2015, right? Of course, the government was building this country, and we were moving up notches all the time. Arrived at 2015, and on all those old attributes of the PNC reemerge. So you're right. In 2020, these same young people were the people who were fast to go to the poll and were ready to make a change and to rescue Guyana. And that was an amazing thing. So now right here, we can say, I would say, thank you to all those people who, including you and your family, who withstood those hard years. Thank God that it wasn't 5 years, because God knows where some of our people would have ended up, and and you guys all came together and make sure that Guyana was rescued from those days, and we can't go back. We can never forget that, and we must never forget those things. We must also remember, Mr. Subhan, that those who acted in a criminal manner, because to attempt to steal a democracy is a criminal offense, those who acted in criminal manner are still before the courts.
Well, there's some concerns about that being raised, why the cases are not
Right.
coming forth and all of that. But I want to make another point here too. As you're talking about people who would have worked so hard and dedicated to ensure that our democracy was saved, it was preserved, and those people need to be congratulated. But I was there and I saw firsthand the bold, fearless leadership of Dr. Barajagdio, the General Secretary of the PPP at that time.
Yes.
He now serves as Vice President. His bold leadership, fearless leadership, inspirational leadership. When many of us felt daunted,
Yes.
our spirits were low, he was there to, give us that energy, to inspire us, himself and the presidential candidate at the time, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, who now serves, he serves as president of a cooperative republic, and many others in the leadership of the party who worked tirelessly to ensure that, at no point in time that we're going to give up, we're going to let our guards down, we're going to stay focused, we're going to be steadfast to the cause, and more so to rally all those persons locally, internationally. And I don't think we can overemphasize that contribution or those contributions.
Right, and I remember too, my heart stopped, and I could see collectively people's heart stop when the question was posed to Dr. Jagdeo, because everything that was tried were failing. Everything were challenged before. Well, I shouldn't say they were failing, but things were failing, and every challenge was brought before the court, and then when they get to a certain what should we call it, level of the court. When it got to a certain level of the court, we see decisions that are questionable by people who do not have even legal minds. And that question was posed to Bar Jagdeo, the General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party. Where does the PPP go from here? And my heart stopped here in the United States, because that was a big question at the time.
You recall his answer?
Yes, I recall the answer, and that the answer is what gives people hope, because at that time, a lot of people were operating in a state of hopelessness. I remember it was around that same time I listened to Kaitro Radio with Dr. Yog Mahadio and Leonard Gildari, and people were calling and crying on those programs. Crying, I remember, and that was what activated my activism even more. I remember one old lady, she said she's calling somebody from Borbis and she's so scared and she can't sleep and she just needs somebody to help her. And the worst thing, she said, one of the worst thing was when they get blacked out, how it's be hard for her and all those things. And people were operating a sense of hopelessness, and that question was posed, and where does the PP go from here? And everybody stopped, and there was like this universal silence. And then that calm response by the vice president into government, brought back some hope, because people were losing hope at that time.
And even on March 13th, when the second declaration was made, the bedsheet declaration that it's now known by, we went to Freedom House from Jacob. Many of us, our spirit appeared to be broken, but the very next day, no, up and about, Vice President, then GS led, said, no, we're not going to give up. There's another way. There's another path. And we saw that relentless struggle, that inspirational leadership, and we should never forget that. I recall in 1992, the 92 elections, I was a presiding officer at the time, an assistant presiding officer, sorry, during those elections. And I recall during the night of the elections, late into the night, either that night or the Tuesday night, the then Prime Minister went on radio and said that the then government, the PNC, has won or is winning the elections. Now, everything that transpired at that time couldn't come to that conclusion.
Right.
Nothing could have led to that conclusion. But you mentioned people crying. But there was a very prominent businessman on the east bank of Demerara. And when he tuned into the radio and he heard it, because everyone were glued to their radio. Television wasn't a very big thing around that time. He collapsed with a heart attack. Thankfully, he didn't die, because no way he could have believed what he heard. But it's things like that that try to daunt people's spirit, to represent, as we call it now, fake news, fabricating stuff to create diversion and division and everything else. So I recall that very vividly because I was there with him in 1992 when it happened. So I can relate to all those persons who cried and lamented because they were unsure, they were scared, they didn't want to go through another 5 years like that.
Right. And I want to talk to you about what transpired on the East Coast as a former member of the ERC. I want to talk to you about that, but I want to first, before we get to that, remind our listeners. I mean, you spoke about your experience in losing your job and stuff like that. I want to remind our listeners that it was the victimization of the PNC was not against one particular race. Even though we saw they were more targeting of a particular race, it was not against one race. Amerindians were let go in droves. The CSOs they were called, right? The CSOs were let go in droves. Linden, their stronghold. It was Bharat Jagdeo and the PPP when Bharat Jagdeo was president who went to Linden with the failing of the bauxite industry and opened up a call center in Linden to ensure that people could get jobs. Whether it was 40 or 400 persons in Linden, that was 40 or 400 households that had an income. That same PNC who claimed to love Linden, who claimed to advocate on the behalf of black people first or only, went to Linden and closed down that call center. We need to remember those things. And Amerindians were targeted. Of course, Indo-Guyanese were targeted. And I can see it. You might not want to see it. It seems as though this political party seemed to put Indo-Guyanese at the top of their target list. At the top of their target list. Which brings me to the other point that I want to make. As a former member of the
Yes.
Ethnic Relations Commission, what were your thoughts on that? I can't find the right word. Maybe you, as my former boss, can give me a right word. But that most disgusting, disgraceful day that transpired at Monrepo on the east coast of Demerara, where one particular ethnic group was victim and target of violence, crime, and crime that were set up by a political party. What are your thoughts on that?
It was the most horrific and despicable act I would have seen in recent times because those people did nothing.
Right.
They were doing their job, they were plying their trade. These are poor people earning a living, doing what they do at the market, providing a service to everyone, right, through their produce that they sell and whatever the case may be. They had nothing to do with that incident in Golden Grove. They had nothing to do with the protest in Golden Grove. Why then must there be this, what appears to be a strategic targeted approach by that party to target certain group? But even before that, you had the West Coast Demerara protest. Of course, it's horrific that those young cousins were killed. Those things cannot be condoned. But what happened afterwards, and if you saw the videos, if you would have seen those videos of people being beaten and robbed, there were reports of people being sexually molested and whatever the case may be. I was on the ERC then, I was in the ERC at that point in time, and it was sad. It was sad that up to that, by that time, the ERC was seen as ineffective. We are 10 of us, right? So the majority vote will go.
Right.
And it was very unfortunate that during that period, especially after the passage of the no confidence motion, and we saw what transpired. There were so many reports in the press, even Dr. Jagdeo, as the GS called out the ERC and pointed out deficiencies and whatever. But unfortunately, the majority voted in a certain way. I recall as a commissioner, I would have moved a motion, right? I would have moved a particular motion that would hopefully, in my intention was for the commission to see things from a nationalistic standpoint and not from an individual standpoint or a political biased standpoint. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. My motion was defeated. I fought as much as I could have in that body for a more nationalistic approach and representation on these issues. But sadly, and I did a minority report, and I am supposed to submit that to the Parliament of Guyana. But for me, by then, the ERC was seen as ineffective. Some believe it was even biased towards the previous government. That's how some people felt.
Right.
And all of us got branded by that. But a few of the commissioners, we were in a minority, but we fought as much as we could. It didn't happen. And I was very peeved at many things, but the way it was handled in terms of the West Babis incident, where certain statements were made by leading politicians of the APNO AFC. And I can tell you, had it been members of the PPP who would have said that section of the ERC would have come down on them like a ton of bricks.
Right.
But they got a slap on their wrist. Those persons just got a slap on their wrist, or not even just a pat on their wrist, and it went by. And it's sad to see that a constitutional body like that, unfortunately, we are all individuals. Not unfortunately, we are individuals. We are all individuals.
Right.
We all have our biases. But at that point in time, in bodies like that, you're expected to be professional and to be objective for the national cause. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
So, was that, could you see that as creating an enabling environment for what we see transpiring today? Because we see more and more people targeting each other on Facebook with all these racial slurs and that sort of thing. And there had a time in our country where we did not operate like that. We did not operate like that. We saw Guyanese for the most part as the Guyanese. Yes, we had our little tug and pull and push during our elections time, but once that period is over, we went back to living as one. But it seems as though this is a continuing thing. So that's why I'm asking you, if do you think that this was that majority? Well, it wasn't a majority at the ERC, was it?
No, the majority held a different view.
Okay, but they just had a few persons who
few of us tried to be different.
But right there and then you can see, because though I don't even know who they were, but those persons definitely represented a political party that does not believe in majority rule majority rule, because clearly if they believe in that, the people would have been in power long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago. So
the body is about to be reconstituted. I know things are in place for the ERC to be reconstituted. The term expires in 2021, so Parliament is going through that process now of appointing a new commission. So I could only hope that those who are coming in,
Right.
will do their utmost to be professional and to be objective in the interest of Ghana.
And I'm pretty sure that at the ERC, while it may not have fall within your mandate, because you at the ERC you particularly look at things that ethnic relations.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about a leader of a political party now talking to a woman who's heading a constitutional agency, GCOM, in a bullyistic manner, like a bully talking to her? What are your personal views on that?
But it smacks of being irresponsible. And, you said bullyism on professionalism, because our country is a beautiful, diverse country in terms of its composition of its peoples. It's a beautiful makeup, that mosaic of our ethnic diversity. And at no leader at any point in time, right? If you have the country at heart and you're aspiring to lead that country, can just pander to one group and to inflict assault on one particular type of people, whatever the case may be. If you have a problem with anyone, it's not about who they are or how they look.
Right.
It must be objective. It must be professional. If you believe somebody is not performing the way, then you have a right to be objective, but not to operate in the way you describe. It must never be like that. And I'm saying, because if you are at that level, because the office of the opposition is a constitutional office, right? And at that level, you're expected to be professional. You're expected to be objective. You're expected to be to appear as if you have the interests of all at heart. You have concerns, yes, but there are ways and means that those concerns can be raised, and it's very sad that is ongoing.
All right, so if you are just joining us, my name, of course, is Ossie Rodgers, and my guest tonight is Mr. Neaz Subhan, who is the Chief Executive Officer at the National Communications Network. And I want to talk to you. Let's turn away a little bit from the politics. Let's talk about some of the work that you've done so far. I'm told about a movie that you made, or is it a movie or documentary? I don't know.
Well, I did make a movie. I made a movie for the ERC, by the way, a movie to bring our people together. Because if I can just take a minute, I wrote this script for a play, and this is a different story. I was inspired to write this play when President Granger established the Social Cohesion Ministry. I felt, in principle, it was something that could have really done wonders in trying to bring our people together. So based on that, I wrote this stage play called I Am Us, because I believe in the name. I am us. I am from all of us. I am a part of everyone. Everyone is a part of me, right? So I believe that if we are going to talk about how we can go forward, we first have to talk to each other as to how we see each other. What are the challenges we see in each other? What are the challenges we face? Why do I have an objection to you? Why do you have an objection to me? What is causing all this tension and racial division and everything else? And I use my creative skills in a way to explore all of that. Of course, you have to make it palatable, humor, whatever the case may be. Right. And at the time, I was encouraged to write to the then president, and ask for his support in trying to put the play on, because he set up the Ministry of Social Cohesion. So this is something that should be good for, I wouldn't call the name, but one of his leading advisors at the time, who was no friend of mine, right, was told of the play, asked to read the script, and said it to me that it is the best piece of work he would have seen in many years in trying to bring our people together. And went so far to say that it would have had more impact than all of the events combined for the Jubilee celebration in 2016, had the play been staged. And he will recommend it to be staged. So I met the president. I was given a go-ahead to start rehearsals. Up to this day, I never got a cent. I never got a response. I never got anything. So it goes back to saying one thing and doing something else. So when I got onto the ERC, and it was submitted by another commissioner to the ERC, not from me, who felt that this is something that the ERC could have worked with. The body met. I recused myself from the discussion, and they agreed, and some funding was provided, and they did it as a stage play. Right. And then we converted it into a film. So it's on YouTube as well. I Am Us, the movie that I would have produced. And it was actually shown at the Giftland Cinemas for an entire week, free of cost, to all Guyanese to see that. But of recent, between following the swearing in of Dr. Irfan Ali as president, the 9th executive president of Guyana, and the tremendous amount of work that he continues to do, I don't think multitask is a good description of how he operates. So many different tracks he's running on at the same time. So many things that are happening. Is even from our standpoint, from the state media, the demands are so much. We have to keep up. We have to try and keep up. Right. Sometimes it's very challenging. So for the second anniversary of the government in office, which is just this month in August, August the 2nd,
right,
I made this documentary, and it was shown at the Building Expo. There was this tunnel that was set up with about 20 big screens that you walk through. Nice futuristic look. From the time you look at the tunnel, you say, oh, wow, Guyana is going places. And so I made this documentary. It's 22 minutes, Road to Prosperity, Guyana Road to Prosperity. And when I was conceptualizing it, I put myself in this chair of someone living in the diaspora, especially someone who may have left 20 years ago, never went say in any way, wow, that can't be Guyana. I would feel that I've been successful as a filmmaker, right, because I would have gotten them to think in a way that, wow, this could never be Guyana. So that documentary, Road to Prosperity, I would hope that your viewers here in the diaspora would be able to access that. Again, it's on YouTube, like everything right. else. For them to have a glimpse and to really see the amount of work that has been going on, that the government is doing to transform Guyana, but not just transform the infrastructure, but to advance the lives of all Guyanese in every single region across the 83,000 square miles of Guyana. The amount of work that is going in to help advance the lives of our people, it's really, really amazing to see what's happening.
So, are we going to be able to see a little piece of it today?
It's your call. It's your call. You want to show 5-6 minutes?
Yes,
of
course. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you an opportunity to see what Mr. Subhan is talking about, and of course, go see it on go watch it on YouTube. Get the entire thing. We're going to give you a little bit of it here, and then we'll continue to talk to Mr. Subhan. We still have to talk about present day Guyana.
Yes.
We spoke a little bit about
this.
The past.
I think this video will do.
Justice.
Do it better than you.
Okay, good. So, Junior, let's go to
transformational development.
Program.
Management, led by its young and visionary president, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, the social and physical infrastructure are undergoing unprecedented positive changes designed to advance the lives of all Guyanese. Now, firmly on the road to prosperity, Guyana came from a troubled past and descended to a status of a heavily indebted poor country. It took years of rebuilding to move Guyana to a developing country, while at the same time easing economic hardships, advancing the lives of the citizenry, and restoring confidence and dignity.
Our country is bursting with opportunities for all. Our dreams are being realized. Guyana is taking off.
Guyana is awesome. It's the place to be.
The transformation began under the leadership of Guyana's longest-serving president, Dr. Barrett Jagdeo, who was a recipient of the prestigious International Award of Champion of the Earth and who now serves as Vice President.
Without a doubt, there's going to be a rapid physical transformation of the country. That's underway already.
I must say that I am extremely pleased to see where Guyana is going today. We have been growing at an amazing rate.
With its advantage of being the only English-speaking country on the continent of South America, Guyana is finally realizing its vast and true potential as the rapid transformational development continues unabated. With a renewed sense of confidence, Guyana continues to rise, reshaping its landscape and has now become a much-sought destination for investment and tourism. This rapid development is driven by vibrant and astute leadership of the Irfan Ali-led government that is committed to advancing the country and the lives of all Guyanese. These relentless efforts have led to Guyana taking its rightful place within the global sphere. Steadfast to the vision of expanding the economy, international engagements are sustained with major countries, companies, and the Guyanese diaspora.
The overall development agenda is to see prosperity for every single Guyanese citizen. It's to see every single Guyanese citizen having the best possible access to important services like housing, health, education. It is to see the next generation of Guyanese wanting to be part of the development of the country.
The future of Guyana is very bright. The investment climate is at a great demand.
There are opportunities across the spectrum. There are a substantial amount of infrastructure work that has commenced.
There's going to be a remarkable physical transformation of the country. There's going to be a remarkable economic transformation of the country.
With growing interest, iconic international brands are ensuring their presence in this rapidly developing nation that is poised to be the shining star in the Caribbean and South America.
We have placed specific importance on tourism as an economic driver. Our vision and our drive and our commitment is to make Guyana one of the premier tourism destinations.
As the world looks to Guyana and as our dear land opens its arms to welcome and embrace all, the hospitality industry is being expanded and modernized to ensure our traditional warmth and friendliness. The grandeur of the new and quintessential Guyana Pegasus, other local hotels in and out of the capital city, the coming of the Hyatt, the Hilton, the AC Marriott Hotels, the Pasha Global Blue Bridge Inc. Hotel, the Four Points Sheraton, are exotic resorts across our country. We are at the ready for the ever-growing demand.
Tourism as a sector and as a priority sector is strategic in that it drives development, it drives livelihoods, including the indigenous livelihood that is the bedrock of our ecosystem.
Are starting this year.
When you go around, you can see Guyana is changing rapidly.
Development trajectory of Guyana is one that is the brightest in the world, with GDP growth of 40-50% per year for the coming years. I think that the private sector has a high level of confidence when it comes to investing in Guyana.
We welcome every single investor, be it Exxon, be it the international investors, has every single stakeholder. Whether you're regional, international, we welcome you.
And of course, guys, you got an opportunity to see the work put out there by Mr. Subhan and his team. And of course, we want to encourage you guys to ensure you go on YouTube. What's the name of it again?
This
Mr.
is
Subhan?
Guyana Road to Prosperity.
Guyana's Road to Prosperity. Make sure you go on Facebook and become inspired. Because for the little bit that I saw, I'm all excited about Guyana and excited about my country. So let's talk about Guyana and or continue, because the video gives us a clear view of what's going on. And for those of you who did not get a clear view, maybe you need to start the video from the start and go on YouTube right after this program. Go on YouTube and go from the start into the video and watch this video and become inspired, become excited for your country. Listen, His Excellency the President has already said, a Guyanese is a Guyanese, full stop. It don't matter if you live in Timbuktu or you live in Queens, New York, or you live wherever you live. And the fruits of Guyana is for all Guyanese, every single Guyanese. So become excited, ladies and gentlemen, and become so excited that you are ready to go home, go back to Guyana. I'm not saying give up everything and just run back to Guyana, but even if you want to, go back. Some people have never been back to Guyana for donkey years. And it's a good time to go back. And it is not the Guyana that you left. Mrs. Subhan just came from there. Mrs. Subhan, you know,
has a boom.
Party, the People's Progressive Party's plans for Guyana. Some of it they have already started rolling out. Let's talk a little bit about that. How inspired are you as a public servant?
I'm extremely inspired, and many days I'm in awe. And those of your viewers who, and I have to have a little bias for the East Bank, those of your viewers who would have lived on the East Bank and then moved away, you would know that between, after you would have passed Peters Hall and entered Providence, all the way to Diamond, where the estate is, where it was, or what the remnants of the estate,
right?
99% of the land on your left or the east were cane fields.
Yes.
Were cane fields. So me as a little boy traveling every day to go to school, from Craig to Georgetown to go to school, that's what I'm seeing. Today, I was telling my son, I learned to drive on Mocha Road, right? Simply because it was fairly lonely. Wasn't much vehicle using that road.
Yes,
and it was used as a road for people to learn to drive. Now you're driving into Mocha Road. One, the traffic is so much. Two, all those cane fields are gone. And it's like a whole new number of cities, not one city, that has opened up. All the lands that you can see where the eyes can go beyond the horizon.
But I hate to interrupt you, Mr. Subhan, and please forgive me. You're East Bank, I'm East Coast. Okay. And I've heard about a lot of development on the East Coast.
Well, I'm starting on the East Bank. Right. I'm starting on the East Bank.
Starting from home.
Right, to start from home, to show the transformation of Guyana. So while we can talk about Diamond Scheme and everything else, there's far more than that. Yeah. There's farm, there's a young professional, there's so many perseverance going on, and then all the way going down now to LBI and all those places on the East Coast. But more importantly, the traffic on the East Bank of Demerara is something that has become a staple in our daily lives. I never thought I would have lived to see another road. I heard about another road since as a boy growing up that would have been built to have another route to get you from Georgetown to Timeri. I am seeing it now in my lifetime.
Right.
I can now drive from Diamond to NCN without using the old East Bank Road. I can get home from Georgetown to Diamond without. I never thought I would have seen that, and that happened within 2 years.
Right.
Within 2 years, and it hasn't ended yet. Right?
This is just the beginning.
There's another expansion coming all the way. There's a connection road going to Ogle, right? So all those lands there connecting the East Coast to the East Bank. You're coming from Berbice to go to the airport. You don't have to drive through the city, right? And this is only a little glimpse. And I believe that video that I would have done would have captured all of that,
right?
All of that, and showed nice, beautiful overhead pictures of what is going on. So if you want to talk about Guyana, where it is today, and what we are seeing, I don't think the remaining time in this program can really do that. But in a nutshell, dreams are coming true.
Yes.
The dream that we all had for Guyana, this beautiful country, to advance it, to modernize it, to truly transform it, right? We are seeing that coming true every single day. And every single Guyanese, they are benefiting from all of this.
And it's very important that you say that, because that was running through my mind. Again, I know you don't want to venture off into the politics, and I respect that. But there are also facts that we can bring out, and it is a fact. So far, we have proven it that no Afro-Guyanese in Guyana is being discriminated against. Have you seen one?
No, I mean, those things that are being said, as I told you before the program, these things are to distract people, to sow division, right? To play upon the sentiments of some people, and with a deliberate intent to sow division in our country. If there's one thing I can tell you, I work in the state media, I worked in the private sector, I've been in the media for so many years, I've traveled all 10 regions in the country, I've done thousands of interviews, not hundreds of interviews, thousands of interviews over the years. And while there are people who would have had concerns, if there was a concern, it was addressed. It was addressed. But to say the things that are being saying now about discrimination and so on, it's, for me, just playing a same old tune over and over. The proof is in the pudding. You have to see what is going on in Guyana. See who are benefiting.
Right.
See who are. Every single Guyanese from all backgrounds, from all across the country that are benefited, are getting their house lots. Look, we did so many people spoke to us, and we compiled short videos. Maybe we should make those things available to you.
Of course.
Right? Short, over 100 and something short videos we made about persons who got house lots, persons who got gold scholarships, persons who benefited from their part-time jobs, right? All of these initiatives. When you look at those people, it is Guyana you're seeing.
Right.
It is Guyana.
Right.
So to say that one group is given preference over the other, for me, the kind of words I want to use, I can't use it on television.
I don't even know you're capable of using those words, but yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is Miss Neaz Subhan. He's been there in Guyana prior to His Excellency Mohamed Irfan Ali taking the oath of office, and what is expected, what is already going on in Guyana. And you don't have to take Neaz's word for it. You don't have to take my word for it. You can go to Guyana and see for yourself. You can call your friends and family in Guyana, and they can tell you if there's one person in Guyana that say they don't see development around them, that person might be blind. That's all I can say, because there isn't one person in Guyana that can say they haven't seen development. I remember a few days ago, one guy that I know called me, said he lived in a village on the west. No, it was just past my before you get to Barbies. I don't want to call the village name because then I identify the individual. But he said that the PPP, he's a diehard PNC. Work with Harmon, diehard PNC. He said the PPP went to all the villages, and his village is not the Apnu village. It's a diehard PNC village, and they skipped his village. So I said, well, here now. The Because We Care cash grant has just been rolled out. Can you bring me one family? I want you to bring me one family that has children and show me that that family was skipped and they didn't get the Because We Care cash grant. I'm still waiting for the call.
As I said, things are being said just to create mischief. But before we go quickly, Guyana, another gauge about where Guyana is or where it's going is the international attention that Guyana is getting from all across the world, major companies, investment. The president has been doing a tremendous job by going all over and speaking to people, and you're seeing all of that. And again, we will be under the international spotlight in September for Cricket Carnival.
Right.
The very first time a major entertainment event like Carnival is being pitted with a major sporting event in cricket, coming together for the first time in the history of both of them. In Guyana, we are setting the trend.
Right.
Cricket Carnival, and people will be coming, and these are the things that when you look at, so it's not just about building a road and a hospital and a school and taking care of our people. All that is happening, and more is to come. But also our country is spreading its wings on the international scene, and that is also a gauge in telling you where Guyana is today.
Nice. And following on what Mr. Subhan said, as Guyanese, we work together and we play together. And that's what. So, Mr. Subhan, we're about to wrap up, but there are people who are watching you as the CEO of NCN. I want you to appeal to some of those people who do not know what is going on in Guyana in September, Cricket Carnival. Give them an invitation for them to come home and experience what's going to happen there.
First of all, through the efforts of the president,
right,
Guyana was able to secure the rights to host the CPL finals for the first time. And we're going to do it for 3 years. For the next 3 years, Guyana will be the host country for the CPL finals and the semifinals. This is in addition to the home games for the Amazon Warriors. And the fact that our country will be doing that, we'll be putting Carnival, flights to get in and out of Guyana is not an easy thing. And those persons here are looking at me right now. Those of you who would have traveled recently, or your families would have traveled recently, they can tell you how challenging is it to get a flight, despite the increased number of airlines that are going to Guyana. That is because more people are going, more people are coming, right? And that tells you that Guyana is the center now. It's a major tourism and investment destination, right? And we are seeing that from all different parts of the world. So when you put Cricket Carnival into all of that, 6 major bands coming on the road for Carnival, so many different activities. So when you come, because new hotels are going up,
Right.
so there's a heavy demand for hotel rooms. So 300 homes will be built to help accommodate persons coming in for Cricket Carnival, if the hotel rooms are not enough. But there's an expectation that it wouldn't be. People, ordinary Guyanese, are sprucing up their homes. They're creating bread and breakfast opportunities for Cricket Carnival as new hotels are being built. So
Right.
think about another year from now, where it will be. It will be a
Yes.
total transformation that is going on.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it here from Mr. Neaz Subhan, current chairman of the National Communications Network. You got your personal invite from Mr. Subhan also. If you haven't gone to Guyana yet, I encourage
Come
you.
home. Book your flights now.
Yes, and
Book your
go
flights
to
now.
Guyana and experience Cricket Carnival. Experience what's going on there for yourself. Do not listen to the naysayers. Do not listen to the naysayers. Go experience for yourself. Don't take it from me. Don't take it from Mr. Subhan. Go experience it for yourself, and you will see what your country is being transformed to because of a president and a political party with the vision to move Guyana and its people forward. Mr. Subhan, I want to say thank you very much for spending this 1 hour with me. I hope we do it again before you go back. We still have another part of the video to watch and to talk about. There's lots of other things we can talk about. So I hope you come again. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. And I must say it was a surprise because when I was
Yes.
planning my vacation, this wasn't part of it.
I
But
know,
I'm
I
happy
know.
that you invite me, and I'm happy that I can be here.
All right. So thank you very much. And that, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Neaz Subhan. We are one people. The president continued to push his One Guyana initiative, his One Guyana agenda, and everybody should embrace that. The time for fighting should be no more. We should put that aside and let us come together and build Guyana. And the president has already, and I said it earlier in this program, has already indicated that a Guyanese is a Guyanese, full stop. Whether you supported Air Finale or you supported PP or you didn't, there is room for you in Guyana to play a role in Guyana's development and your own personal upliftment. If you reject that because of the naysayers, if you reject that because of a political party that benefits from keeping you in poverty and in a state of hopelessness, that's on you. That's on nobody else. We're one people. And we have a common destiny. On behalf of my technical team here at Sky TV New York, and of course those over there at Daybreak News and the Guyanese Critic, I want to say thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys again on Tuesday. Have a good night.